Hey guys, welcome to the video. Salt here. Today we're going to be going over the primary weapon, the Perigale. Now in this weapon series, I take a weapon, I build it out, and I test that weapon on its own merits, meaning I don't mix it with any kind of external factors that would increase weapon performance. That would be things like Warframes using abilities, pets putting statuses on enemies, things like that. I just test the weapon built out by itself, and I let the viewer make their own intelligent conclusions about adding those external things. So the Perigale was suggested to us by commenter Shin Malfer 6370, and that's why we're doing it today. We have the top commenter of the last video. Actually, everyone was tied for top comments. There was not one comment that was above all the others. So I gave my own little like and made one the top one, just because most of the people I've seen on the channel already. So I was like, I don't think I've ever seen Gregory Stevens. So let me throw him up here and we'll give him some love. So there was not technically a top commenter until I gave my own little like to one of the comments. We have the first commenter, though, which was Montero U. He's on a little bit of a streak there. Okay. So the Perigale, it is a sniper rifle-ish kind of a weapon. It's a burst sniper rifle. This is one of the weapons that came out with Varuna, and so Varuna has a little bit extra effects with this weapon. And this is the one of the ones that you would farm on Lua. So the Lua survival there, the weird survival conjunction, I think it's called. Okay. Let's go into the build here, and we're going to go over unique and interesting things first about the Perigale before we go into the mods. Okay, so let me go over Gale Force. This is going to be the special buff effect-ish kind of a thing that Perigale gets. So landing 4 headshots in a burst or a headshot kill grants the Gale Force buff. This increases your ammo efficiency by 100%, which is just free, so your ammo is free, for 4 seconds. Okay, so four headshots landed out of a burst, or a headshot kill. Most of the time, it's going to be the headshot kill that's going to proc this. Just because on Steel Path, if you're building your weapons out correctly, dudes shouldn't take 4 shots to the head to take down. They're going to go down way quicker than that. So most of the time, it's going to be the actual headshot kill that you're proccing this from. And if you look there, Varuna actually also gets a little extra with the Perigale, where Varuna gets another plus 24 ammo maximum. Because the Perigale, it has a magazine of 12, but only an ammo maximum of 24. So you have 12 shots in your mag, and you have 24 reserve, which seems really, really low, and it is really, really low. But you're supposed to be using this Gale Force buff to basically get your ammo for free. So as long as you're playing this appropriately, this should be free. Or free most of the time, I should say. Okay. The other interesting things about this weapon is that it's going to have 1 innate punch through. I know this says 3.2, but it's because we have Prime Shred. But it does have 1 innate punch through, which is really nice. That actually makes it so that we don't really have to use Prime Shred. Like, Prime Shred is usually the go-to mod that we always use if we have it available, because Prime Shred is unfortunately a login reward. But on this weapon, Prime Shred is more of a side grade to Vial Acceleration than it is an actual better mod. So you can go with either one because of this weapon's innate 1 meter punch through. The other interesting thing is that it's going to have 2 zoom modes because it's a sniper rifle. So when you aim in, you're going to be at a 2 times zoom, and you're going to get a 20% crit damage buff. And if you aim in again or press your little alternate click where it like aims in further, you're going to be at a 4 times zoom with a 40% crit damage buff. Those crit damage buffs are additive, so don't worry too much. If you don't like being at the max zoom, you're only missing out on 20 crit damage, additive crit damage, which really isn't that much. So, like, even me, I'm not going to be at that 4 times zoom. I hate being zoomed in that much. Now, if I had a Riven that had negative zoom, yeah, I'd probably be at 4 times because it's going to be like much less than actual 4 times. But normally now, I'm going to sit at the 2 times because I don't want to be like zoomed in looking at people's specs on their face. So, one more interesting thing about the Perigale before we go into the mods. There's a lot of interesting things actually about the Perigale. So we got one more here. So when you're not zooming in, so hip firing, this weapon will actually shoot out its shots horizontally, like pinpoint accurate, although not necessarily accurate because it goes horizontal, but it's like exactly horizontal is where all the shots go. So kind of in a little fan in front of you. So that's really cool. It's not going to combo with our build because our build we actually want to be aiming in and getting like headshots and stuff. But it's interesting that it has that firing mode. If you're a person that maybe like really doesn't get good headshots, it's hard for you to aim in. Maybe you're on, I've heard controllers sometimes hard to aim in on, then maybe that horizontal firing mode could be decent for you. Although in that case, this build probably wouldn't be for you because this build does have mods that require headshots. So, but it's interesting that it has that horizontal firing mode. All right, I think that's finally it with all the interesting and unique things about the Perigale. We can finally go into the mods here. So we're going to start with Galvanized Chamber for multi-shot. Galvanized Scope for critical chance. Primed Shred for fire rate and punch through. Now, the side grade to this is Vial Acceleration. So, Prime Shred is 55 fire rate. Let me just pull it down here. Prime Shred is 55 fire rate, and Vial Acceleration is 90 fire rate. So you actually get more fire rate out of Vial Acceleration. You just don't get that extra punch through. Now, on this weapon, because you have the innate one punch through, Prime Shred is not just necessarily better than Vial Acceleration. They're both kind of equal. So Prime Shred, it's going to depend on the map. If you're playing a map that has tight hallways or tight corridors, let's say Kuva Survival, for instance. Kuva Survival, I would pick Prime Shred all day long because dudes are lined up like, 100 meters away. They're all lined up like in a Congo line. So Prime Shred, you get massive value on a Kuva Survival map. But on a regular map like maybe like Mott or the Lewin maps where they're a little bit more spread out. The hallways are kind of wide and thick, and so like dudes aren't always like Congo lining with each other. You might get more value out of Vial Acceleration. Because you're still going to be punching through targets. You're still going to punch through one dude and possibly hit a second dude, which is completely fine. Prime Shred's going to make it so you could hit, like 3 or 4 dudes, possibly. So, you're not always going to have 4 dudes Congo lining behind each other. So, that's up to you. You can go with either one. I feel like most people are actually going to pick Vial Acceleration, and it's just because Prime Shred is a login reward. It's kind of hard to get. Not everyone's going to have it. And on this weapon, you don't have to feel bad about that, because Vial Acceleration is a side grade. It's not a downgrade from Prime Shred. I'm going to be staying with Prime Shred myself, but, easily this is a pick over Prime Shred 2 if you like this. Okay, in the next mod slot here, we have Hunter Munitions. There's 2 good options for this slot, and you've probably heard me talk about these. They always fight with each other on the extra slot, and that's Bladed Rounds and Hunter Munitions. They're always fighting with each other. They're a mod that is when your build has 1 additional slot to play with, they're like the 2 best options. Sometimes there's another like 1 or 2 mods too, but on this particular kind of weapon, there's like 2 good options, and that's Bladed Rounds or Hunter Munitions. So we have to figure out what goes into this slot here. Bladed Rounds is another we get the 120% crit damage from Vital Sense, but we get another 120 crit damage from Bladed Rounds, which is amazing. This does have above average crit multiplier, so you actually get more value out of Bladed Rounds than you would with a normal weapon, so Bladed Rounds is amazing here too. Okay. Hunter Munitions, this is a 30% chance to apply a slash on a critical. So on high alpha weapons, on weapons that have... Oh my goodness, I'm dropping things on my desk here. All right. So on high alpha weapons that do a lot of damage per shot, so like traditional sniper rifles, right? Like maybe like the Rubico or something. Hunter Munitions produces gigantic slash procs that do a huge amount of damage. And on low alpha weapons, like the little tiny assault rifles or submachine guns, they shoot very fast, and so you'll produce a lot of slash procs, but those procs are really small. They're really small and piddly, and you could barely even see the damage that Hunter Munitions is producing. The Perigale is a little bit in between. It's not, if you look here, and of course this total damage is not taking into account critical multipliers. But without critical multipliers, most of like the small, low alpha, like piddly damage weapons, you'll see there are only a few hundred damage total. This one's 1,000, which is not, I wouldn't consider 1,000 without critical multipliers high alpha, but it's like on the cusp, right? Like once you get to like 2, 3, 4,000 and over, that is high alpha damage. So 1,000 I would still consider low, but it's like it's getting towards that high alpha. So I feel like you still could get good value out of Hunter munitions, even early on. Because here's the other thing about these two picks, is that typically, if we were talking about a low alpha damage weapon, bladed rounds is typically better than Hunter munitions because you get little piddly slash procs on Hunter munitions. But later on in the game, when you're in a survival for a few hours, or you're in a disruption for a few hours, or if you decided to do a Void Cascade and that scales like super quick, later on when enemies are thicker, they got more health, they have, you know, a lot of armor and all that stuff, slash procs do a lot. And so even on a low alpha damage weapon, eventually Hunter munitions will beat out bladed rounds. So like even on low alpha, Hunter munitions will eventually beat out bladed rounds. But I think because of this weapon starting at a higher total damage, of course without critical multipliers, I know. So this weapon starts with a higher than average damage for a low alpha weapon. It's going to reach that point quicker, right? It's going to reach the point where Hunter munitions is doing more quicker. So I think for this weapon specifically, even though it's kind of low alpha, I think I would go with Hunter munitions. But it's super close, super close. If you're intending to do super late in a steel path, then Hunter munitions is always going to beat out bladed rounds. But even early, because this weapon has a higher than average low alpha number, then I think it still would probably beat out bladed rounds. I did a little bit of testing in the Simulacrum. The Simulacrum is not a great place to test bladed rounds versus Hunter munitions, because Hunter munitions is always going to beat bladed rounds in the Simulacrum, because dudes, you know, of course you're going to spawn in like, you know, the 225 heavy gunners or exo ghost dags. So like it's always going to appear like Hunter munitions is better than bladed rounds. But in actual gameplay, bladed rounds is typically better than Hunter munitions until enemies are stronger. So yeah, I think that's a little bit too much about explaining that slot there. So I hope I didn't over-explain too much. I probably did. I definitely over-explained that. So yeah, we're going to go with Hunter munitions there. Okay, that's where we're picking. Next slot here is Critical Delay for crit chance. And we're going to have Vital Sense for crit damage. And then in these last two slots here, we're going to go with Malignant Force, which is the 60-60 Tox, and Prime Cryo Rounds, which is the 165 Cold, to make Viral. Now, on low alpha weapons, Viral and Corrosive are like king. Because this is on the cusp of maybe going into the lower high alpha category, Blast could also be decent. I'm going to stick with Viral on my build. The reason I like Viral is because you don't need to go crazy with status chance. Like, we don't need to go with the 260-60s. We can go with the 60-60 Tox and then the big 165 Cold without status chance. Because Viral, like, this only has 25% status chance, but that's okay. Because even one Viral proc is 100% damage to health. If you were going to go with Blast, you know, Blast is cold and heat, but you would probably want to not use Prime Cryo. You'd probably want to go with the 60-60 Cold. So you'd be losing a little bit of damage from that. So you'd be hoping the actual Blast effect kind of picks it up in damage. So I'm going to stick with Viral here. Blast is probably also pretty decent, though, on this weapon, just because it's kind of teetering into that, like, almost high alpha damage weapon. Okay, in the Exilus slot, we're going to have Vigilante Supplies. You have the ammo conversion effect on the top, but the effect that we're really going to be using this for is the bottom effect, which is the 5% chance to enhance critical hits from primary weapons. So the way you get the most value out of Vigilante Supplies is if you have a fast-firing weapon with above-average multi-shot. This is a fast-firing weapon with average multi-shot. So this is not like the absolute best candidate for Vigilante Supplies, but there's not much better. There's really not much better in the Exilus category there. If you didn't go with Deadhead, you might want to pick Stabilizer, but we're going to go with Deadhead, which is going to give us the negative recoil, so we don't need to go with Stabilizer. So for that reason, there's not really anything else in the Exilus slot for us to pick that's like decent. So we'll pick Vigilante Supplies there. And then the Arcane slot, we're going to go with Primary Deadhead. Primary Deadhead is going to be 360% flat damage, 30% headshot multiplier, which is nice because it's a headshot build, and negative 50% weapon recoil. I want to make a little bit of a case for Primary Merciless. So I know this is a headshot build. It really makes sense to use Deadhead over Merciless. And I actually am going to use Deadhead over Merciless. But just to play the devil's advocate, Merciless does have plus reload speed. And in the chance, which it will happen, that you actually have to reload the weapon, because you're going to screw up sometimes, so you're not always going to get free ammo. But when you have to reload the weapon, the reload on this thing is pretty crappy. So Merciless having the plus reload speed is pretty decent. It's pretty decent. I don't think it beats out Deadhead, but I just kind of wanted to play devil advocate there and be like, yeah, you know, Merciless still has merit to it. So, but yeah, I'm going to be picking Primary Deadhead here. Okay, so that's the build for the Perigale. What we're going to do now is we're going to do this in 10 minutes of Steel Path Mott and just show it off, show how it works and how this build does. I'm going to be doing this on a big dumb Anaros with no Archon shards that increase weapon performance. No mods or arcanes on the Anaros that increase weapon performance, and with a pet, I think I had no pet on. Okay, I put my little worm on. I always bring worm just to pick up like ammo and stuff for me. So we have worm, and he should be in my weapon test build, yeah, which is no mods or anything on the worm that affects weapon performance. I basically just bring him for vacuum and animal instinct, and that's basically it. Alrighty. So let me shut my mouth and get into this Mott here. We'll see how this little guy does. Or big guy, actually. He's pretty big weapon. So I'm definitely going to be wanting to get headshot kills to get some free ammo.
Their rage is vehement, their focus impressive.
You'll see me once in a while press this button. This just is going to give me status immunity and stagger immunity. So it doesn't do anything to affect the weapon's performance. It's just so I don't get staggered around.
They have just shut down all systems. I'm sending life support capsules your way.
But definitely a precision weapon. I want to show off that horizontal mode, though. When you don't aim in, it'll actually just shoot horizontally. Let me see at this wall here. See how it's kind of like horizontal on that wall? Kind of cool. Kind of cool. Again, we're not going to utilize that on our build, because our build's actually going to be, you know, the traditional Perigale headshot build. But it's just interesting that it has that effect. For ribbon stats for this weapon, it has above average crit damage, so definitely crit damage. I probably want crit chance, because this is not technically a red crit build, it's like orange. So crit chance could, you know, bust it up into that red crit tier. So probably crit chance, crit damage, and maybe multi-shot. I mean, this is the average multi-shot weapon, but even average multi-shot weapons get value out of the multi-shot stat. Multi-shot's just so powerful. So yeah, probably just your average multi-shot, crit chance, crit damage ribbon. You know, in a perfect world. In a perfect world where you could actually pick what's on your ribbon. If you're like me, you'll never get what you want. That's part of the reason I do my builds without ribbons, because I'm so incredibly unlucky with ribbons. I think I have a Nucor ribbon that has 200 rolls, and it's still not good enough for me to even put on the weapon. Like the base mods are still better than what the ribbon has. That's how bad my luck is with ribbons. 200 friggin' rolls. Cephalon suit is attacking us. Now, ideally, because this is a like a punch-through weapon and you're trying to get headshots, you want to be in a linear area. You want to be like in more of a hallway, so you could be a true hallway hero. So, like, where I was trying to farm in that room is probably not the best. You want to be, like, either in a hallway or a doorway like this. So you can kind of line enemies up and just kind of bounce back and forth. But, of course, you know, you can't always pick exactly where you're going to set up. Sometimes you're with a team. My builds are always, you know, meant for playing multiplayer. So you're going to be with a team most of the time, and people are going to be running around doing weird stuff, wanting to set up in weird places, so you won't always be in the absolute ideal area. So you do have that settings in accessibility that lets you shoot your weapons as if they were automatic, even if they're burst or semi. However, with this weapon, I would still recommend just to tap fire it, because you don't want to actually like waste ammo by not shooting anything, because you kind of get punished for it. You get punished by having to go through a long-ass reload, or running out of ammo if you really suck, but I shouldn't say that too loud. I probably will now. I'm going to run out of ammo here. That was 3 bursts and like a single bullet. That killed the Acolyte. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's what I'm saying. It's not really a low alpha. I mean, I guess it is technically low alpha, but it's like on the cusp, right? It's like... It's not like as low alpha as like the Prismagrokata, but it's not as high alpha as like the Dread, right? It's like... The Prismagrokata is going to be, without critical multiplier, is going to say like, you know, 200 per shot, and the Dread's going to say like 50,000. So this is only at 1,000, so it's technically low alpha, but it's still higher than the traditional low alpha weapons like the Kuvakarik, the Grokata, any like little fast firing gun, Gremlins.
When you need it, extraction is ready.
All right, 5 minutes. We got 5 more minutes left. Any red crits you see are likely being caused by Vigilante Supplies. So Vigilante Supplies just upgrade your crit tier. 1 out of 20 shots. 1 out of 20 shots it upgrades your crit tier. I had to reload again there. Did I, like, not hit anything on that one magazine? Oh, again. Oh, my goodness. See, you had to say it, Salt. You had to say that if you're really bad. And now I am really bad here. I have to, like, reload 3 times in a row because I hit, like, 0 headshots. Oh my goodness, here we go again. Yeah, that's why I was trying to play Devil's Advocate for Primary Merciless, because I'm like, I know you have free ammo on this, but you are going to have to reload once in a while, and the reload really sucks. So, like, I still think Deadhead beats Primary Merciless, but, like, it's still a decent option because of the crappy reload speed. Try to play in a way that lines enemies up, like I'm trying to do here. I try to kind of like play with like a doorway, you know, that kind of like brings all the enemies into one area so I could just punch through all of them. Big open spaces are where punch-through weapons start to suffer.
You are running out of time. Consider
We're running out of time. What do we need some life support, I guess? 20%? Yeah, let me hit like 1 or 2. 1 or 2 should get us 10 minutes. Yeah, for me, the 4 times, like this one right here, this is a little bit too zoomed in for me. Maybe you like this, though. Maybe it's easier for you to get headshots in the 4 times zoom. It's just a little bit too zoomed in. We got Malice, he's super dangerous. I got to stop shooting for a second. And then, come on, put the mag bubble on me. There you go. Roll, drop the mag bubble, and now he's safe to shoot. Now he's dead. If you try to shoot while you have the mag bubble for Malice on you, you'll down yourself. That's like one of the most common reasons for like new players to down themselves in or to go down in Steel Path, is they don't realize what Malice does. He puts a mag bubble on you, and he makes you shoot the bubble, and it pings around, and it ends up hitting you. All the acolytes have like 1 or 2 Warframes that they are themed on. Malice is themed on mag and something else. I forgot what else he's themed on. Maybe it's just mag. Some of the acolytes have like 1 Warframe that they're themed on, or 2, or I think some are even like 3. That's good for punch through right there. Had a nice old group right there. We're getting close to 10, right? Yeah, we got about 10 seconds left. Let me get some good killing in here so we can get our numbers up for when we do the tier list eventually. I think I am stuck in the walls, but I'm afraid to... Okay, there we go. I couldn't move out of that. Where is it? It's over there. All right, so we're at 10 minutes. Let's see. 800 kills. 800 is probably above average, but it's not as much as the meta weapons we've tested. The meta weapons that we've done this on have hit like 11 to 1200. So definitely not in the 11 to 1200 mark, like not in the meta category, but definitely above average, above the average weapons we've tested. Oop, I'm going the wrong way. It's a pretty cool weapon, and it probably combos with like certain Warframes better than others. You know, Zada's Whisper might be a good combo with this thing. Zada's Whisper is a super weird subsume.
What you have learned here will serve you well.
Techno, extraction is ready.
Does anyone else have this? Does anyone else have their chat box always like moving around? I've had this for over a year, almost 2 years this has been happening to me. And it is infuriating, and I don't know how to fix it. I just almost after every single mission I have to move my chat box to the other side. It's really annoying. So anyway, that was the Perigale. Pretty cool weapon, definitely worth getting and building out. Not meta, you know, it's not going to beat the meta weapons in the game. It's not going to be like beating the turret or anything, but it's still pretty good. Still, you know, worth building. So if you guys liked the video, consider giving it a like. If you haven't subbed yet, consider subbing or tell me what I can do to earn your sub. And I hope you guys have an amazing day. All right, bye.